You're watching Market Fatafat on 80 now, the first edition. I'm Mubina Kapasi, and the market certainly seemed to be taking a knock, though we're off the day's low. 11,700 once again reclaimed. The Sensex is losing approximately 200 odd points, but that one as well had recuperated and now is down by about 160 points. Broader markets, however, continue to underperform the benchmarks. It's 1% gone for the mid-cap index and 80 points gone for the small-cap index. Yes Bank certainly is the big culprit. But before I go on to talk about Yes Bank and individual stocks, let me first introduce our research analysts and technical analysts joining in. We have with us Soumya Sharma, Kunal Bothra and Himen Kaparia of KR Choksi Securities as well joining in on the technical. So thanks to all of you for joining in. And now let's get to the big mover of today, that is Yes Bank. Sharp rise in slippages, and that's what's led to a loss being posted by the company in the fourth quarter in excess of 1,500 crore rupees. So certainly a Q4 shocker for this one, and that's something that's led to across the board downgrades coming in for the bank. Macquarie for one has double downgraded the stock to underperform with a target at 165 rupees, because the worrying point is that the trouble does not end over here for Yes Bank. The incoming CEO, that's Ravneet Gill, has already flagged off a large stressed pool, and this is something that's causing the downgrades. Look at the way the stock has tanked, 27% gone. In fact, Deven Choksi believes that the spike in the loss is a result of the bank cleaning up its book, like we said, and the management should give some clarity on quality of the NPAs to reassure investors. Listen in to what he had to make of the results.
Well, I think on one side, I think one would like to believe that nearly 9 times the loss that they have had earlier in the last year same quarter, I think they reported this time for the non-performing asset. One would like to believe that I think this is a cleanup of balance sheet which they are doing, and I think that could probably be a good move. But whether I think it's a complete cleanup or whether something else is pending, or if the quality of the paper in the books are little weak, in that case I think one is not too sure where exactly I think the further shock is likely to come from. So we definitely would like to see in no uncertain terms of clarity coming out from the management about the quality of the paper that they are holding in the books, and where exactly I think they would be having problem going forward, if at all. Then in that case I think that clarity should come out very clearly from their side.
Kunal, let's talk about Balrampur Chini. We've been seeing increased traction in some of these sugar names. What are you observing?
It is at a fresh 52-week high, Mubina. In fact, it's almost at a 2-year or 2.5-year high, at current levels. And looking at the way the stock has performed, not just in the last few days and weeks, but also in the last, few quarters, I think it just about goes to show that the stock is onto a very strong momentum. When the stock, hits a fresh, 52-week high or multi-year highs, in a market which is getting a bit volatile, I think that itself goes to show that there's a lot of demand for that stock, even at higher levels. So Balrampur Chini could be a stock which should be continued to be, held on. I think from current levels of 152, you could look at an immediate target of at least a 175 to 180.
Okay, that's Balrampur Chini, 3.5% higher. Soumya, how are the numbers for L&T Finance?
For L&T Finance, on a consolidated basis, the NII was up by over 15%. It was led by strong profit growth of over 105% on a year-on-year basis. Even the NIMs were pretty much stable. Provisions and asset quality improved. Both the NPA and GNPA and net NPA were both saw an improvement on a sequential basis. This increase in profitability was also through company's focus strategy on the focused book, which grew at over 17%. In its management in its conversation with ET now spoke that they are adopting a conservative approach for providing for IL&FS exposure, and they do not have any exposure as far as the ADAG stocks are concerned. So pretty much mixed set of numbers. The stock, however, underperforming by over 5%.
All right, Himen, let's talk about the big culprit that's causing the markets to fall, and that is the banking space, led by the PSU banking space. What's your view on the Nifty Bank?
Well, actually, if one were to look at the Nifty Bank, we've been moving sideways for almost 21 trading sessions, Navina, in a range between 29,450, 30,650. We saw 11% open interest in the last trading session. But we are at the lower band of the range. I don't think it looks like doing anything. So I would have a hold. But if 29,450 were to crack, I think then we could see a sharp dip of almost 600 points. But as of now, it seems stable enough with no clear directional move, but a negative bias persists.
Right. So, well, it has been moving sideways for some time, and that's the main strategy on Nifty Bank. ADAG stocks crumbling under pressure, and this time around it's names like Reliance Home Finance, it's Reliance Capital that are declining, and how. This is after CARE has downgraded the stock price, the papers of Reliance Home Finance as well as Reliance Commercial Finance to C from BBB+. Additionally, of course, the impact is going to be felt by Reliance Mutual Fund, as does that have large exposure to these stocks. There's also news that the company is finally deciding to let go of control in the two ADAG names, is in fact looking for prospective buyers as well. So that's an additional news piece. ADAG stocks crumbling under pressure. Kunal, quite a rebound witnessed in some of these metal names. In fact, I think most of them are just about seeing quite a spike and are at the day's high. Your view on JSW Steel?
So, if you remember, Mobina, last week also we had highlighted JSW Steel, and I think specifically that stock in the entire metal pack, because I was indicating that, the stock is going through a strong Ichimoku kind of, technical pattern, where the stock has, come out of a cloud, of that pattern, and that of almost after, if I'm not wrong, almost 9 or 12 months of a downward drift. So I think it's a very strong comeback which the stock can make. These are longer term chart patterns and longer term breakouts which I'm talking about, and should have strong positive impact into the stock price. So I believe JSW Steel, which has already rallied I think the last 10-15 minutes, I think could continue to move up higher. 315 plus could be an immediate target on the short term for JSW Steel.
Okay, that's JSW Steel for you. Samya, how are Hero Motors numbers?
Well, for its profit, it was down by over 24.5% compared to the last year, and also revenue were down by over 8%. Well, this was pretty much in line with what our expectations were. However, the margins dipped by from 16% to 13.6%, but were above street estimates. Apart from this, the management has pointed out that the near-term prospect for two-wheelers market remains weak, but they are expecting some amount of pickup going in second half of FY20 on the back of festive season demand. Overall, they are estimating mid-single-digit growth in FY20. Talking about the results, Jefferies have maintained their hold stance with a target price of 2,550, saying that Q1 to remain weak for the management, hopeful of a better second half, and they are concerned on its medium-term growth prospects, which keeps them cautious on Hero.
All right, Hemant, let's talk about another PSU bank that's really bearing the brunt today. It's Bank of Baroda. Your view here?
I would have a sell on bounce, Mobina. I think we are in a short and medium-term downtrend. Well, it's getting a bit oversold on intraday charts, making it ripe for a possible recovery. But as of now, it looks like a sell on bounce.
All right, sell on bounce for BOB. Persistent Systems as well came out with its numbers. Well, okay set of numbers. The dollar revenue declined 2% on a sequential basis. We also had the profits declining about 8%. The digital revenue still did a little better, and the contribution as well increased overall. High single digit sort of growth is seen on a sequential basis in the digital revenue as well, 4% precisely speaking. So okay set of numbers, stock price down a little over 2%. Kunal, what are you observing in a Zee Entertainment? Why are you flagging that off?
So, Mubina, I think Zee Entertainment, I think, is forming a inverse head and shoulder pattern on the hourly charts. I think it's just about on the verge of, breaking out of that short-term pattern. Yes, the stock has been in the thick of news, and, a lot of triggers, have been pending for the stock. But purely technically speaking, I think the stock is due for a short-term breakout if this pattern gets fulfilled on the upside. So, Zee Entertainment could be something to look at, for a buy at current levels for a short-term target of almost 444, which should be another 5 to 6% higher from current levels.
All right. Let's just go across to an ET now exclusive then on India Bulls Real Estate. My colleague Nayantara Rai picks up, understands that the valuations being sought by the promoters and all those that are in the race are at this point of time being looked at very closely. And of course, a question about whether iBulls promoters are looking for a full exit or are they looking at selling the assets piecemeally. Nayantara has picked up that big story. Nayantara.
This is the big ET Now exclusive. Promoters of India Bulls Real Estate have given the mandate to EY to sell their stake in full or partially. I'm being told by my sources that the asking price is 250 rupees a share. This is against the last trading price of India Bulls Real Estate of 125 rupees a share. So just see the kind of premium that is being sought by the promoters, convinced that there is underlying asset value. Look at the developed commercial real estate portfolio, the portfolio of commercial real estate that is currently under development, and of course the residential real estate as well. I'm also being told there are 5 contenders in the fray. There are 5 that are in the race right now, and they include DLF, Blackstone, Brookfield, Godrej, as well as Shapoorji. But sources indicating that the contenders are not willing to pay 250 rupees a share. They believe the fair price is perhaps in the region of 175 to 180 rupees a share. Having said that, the promoters have all options on the table, sources say. That means they can fully exit, partially exit, or even sell piecemeal different assets to different contenders. I believe that is perhaps one of the most practical options that are on the table, and a lot of the interest in IBREL has to do with its commercial real estate portfolio. So let's see how this story unfolds. Remember, all of this being done so that India Bulls can meet its ambition of having a bank. It has announced that merger with Lakshmi Vilas Bank, but it has not applied for an approval from the Reserve Bank of India. The central bank regulators' conservative approach to real estate are very well known, and that's why the promoter is looking to exit this business.
Okay, well, moving on to the next stock, HCL Tech, so resilient as ever, in fact, if I might say, for the IT space, and it continues with that trend. Hey, Main, what should one do with an HCL Tech?
I think the entire Movina, the IT index has given a breakout. So HCL Tech either is playing catch up behind TCS, and the IT index is at an all-time high. So a buy on HCL Tech, stop loss of 1145, target of 1199, short, medium, long-term uptrend. It's at an all-time high, Movina, and a further upside seems like a very distinct possibility.
Right, HCL Tech 2.6% higher. Eveready, however, is declining, and how? Remember, it's been falling, and now it's fallen for the 8th straight day, which puts the stock price at the lowest level since October 2014. Look at that. The stock is in fact now locked in lower circuit. India Ratings has actually downgraded the long-term credit rating of the stock price with a negative outlook. Additionally, of course, we have Mr. B.M. Khaitan, who stepped down as a chairman as well. But yeah, the bigger news, of course, is that the long-term credit rating has been downgraded by India Ratings. And that's the 20% fall. Okay, Soumya, we're going to be expecting Kotak Bank's numbers. We are expecting Kotak Bank's numbers in the next 2-3 hours. What can we expect?
Well, on the net interest income, we expect a growth of over 20% to 3,095 crore rupees, while for the PAT we see 23% growth to over around 1,380 crore rupees. Apart from this, we'll be keenly watching out for NIMs, which we pretty much expect to be stable but with an upward bias. Other income is expected to see a growth of over 12% compared to last year. And we're expecting healthy fee income. Overall, asset quality is expected to remain broadly stable, and that's apart from this, we'll be also watching out for the management commentary on progress on its mandated reduction in the promoter's stake, and what's the growth outlook for the company, the NPA and the margin and CASA trends. Well, this is what we're watching out for Kotak. Let's see how the results fare.
All right, moving on to another stock, and that's Cholamandalam. The numbers have not been that bad, but on the NI and profit front, it's really disappointed. So NI and PAT has come in below expectations. It's a growth of 35% on the NI front, and the profits have grown up only 2.4%. But I think what's impressive is the way the provisions have come under control. The asset quality has improved. Provision amount has decreased on a sequential basis at only 55 odd crore rupees, and on an absolute and a net NPA level, it's compressed from the previous quarter. So that I think is very impressive, but the stock price is down by about 1.5%. All right, we'll take a very short break right here on the show, but come right back. We're going to continue with the countdown of the big movers and shakers. watching Market Fatafat on ET now. Let's continue with the countdown of the big movers and shakers. Soumya, Supreme Petrochem came out with their numbers. It doesn't look like that great a set.
Yes, Mubina, they weren't that strong. In fact, the numbers were pretty much weak. The sales were down by over 7.4% to 822 crore rupees, while the profit was down by over 5.6% to nearly 39 crore rupees. Apart from this, the stock has in fact been underperforming for the past few days, and even today it's down by over 0.02% on back of weak results. The street doesn't even is not very happy with the set of numbers that Supreme Petrochem has come out with.
All right, and it's just flattish for the company. Another result reaction is witnessed in Castrol India. Okay set of numbers. I mean, operating performance is pretty decent despite the tough external environment. The margin has improved significantly, so that's very encouraging. But the revenue has declined 5.5% and the profit too has declined 12.7%. So that's Castrol India. The stock price is down 0.9%. Again, numbers are not that great, but given the fact that the external environment was so tough, it's relatively managed to do better. Kunal, another banking stock, ICICI Bank, this one was recently at its lifetime highs, ebbed off a bit from those levels. What should viewers do over here?
So yeah, I think the stock is still at its lifetime high levels, and the good part is that the stock has dropped in terms of volatility, and I think that's a very strong sign in a market which is getting a bit volatile, heading towards a big event. A lot of stocks in the same space have been showing some whipsaw movements. I think ICICI Bank is still holding steady, and I think that's a sign of a solid and a strong stock which has been trading quite well or been one of the leaders in terms of the private banking space. So I believe ICICI Bank could continue to rise up higher from current levels. I've been highlighting the stock earlier as well for a target of 420 plus. So I maintain those targets on ICICI Bank even at current levels.
All right. More result reactions then, Soumya. How were the numbers for IEX?
For IEX, it was pretty much a mixed set of numbers. Revenue was up by over 8%. EBITDA saw a growth of 10%, and the margins also improved from 81% to 83%. The PAT, however, was up by over 20%. Apart from this, for the highlights for Q4, the electricity segment registered a downfall of over 9%, which was due to the lower procurement by distribution companies. As far as treasury income is concerned, it was up by over 48% from increase in SGF and trading float and high yields. The stock, however, gaining by marginally over 0.2%.
All right. Moving on to another big loser in trade, the India Bulls housing finance stock price is tanking more than 7%, and I think that could be said about the entire India Bulls group. But Himain, let's talk first about India Bulls housing. What would you make of this fall?
Well, if you have a slightly shorter term view, I think it's a sell on bounce. We have seen low top, low bottom way below the 55-day exponential moving average. We are in a short and medium term downtrend. It's getting oversold, so maybe some more pain, but a recovery. So I wouldn't have a short at this point in time, but more of a sell on bounce.
All right. Short to medium term downtrend for India Bulls housing is what Himain is reading on the chart. Himain is reading on the charts. Stock number 21, then Orissa Cement, more result reaction seen over there. And the company's total income has managed to grow a neat 21%. So that's come in at 754 crore rupees. Not just that, the profits as well have managed to jump fourfold. So while in the corresponding quarter it was just at a little over 12 crores, now it's at 62 crores. So great going for the company in terms of the financial numbers. It's no wonder that the stock has actually jumped 7%. Margins as well have expanded, which has been slightly mixed for the other big cement companies so far. This one has managed to do well over there. Kunal, what are you observing in Dabur? In fact, we are waiting for the numbers as well, which should be out, I think, day after tomorrow. So ahead of that, what are your key observations?
So in the last, I think 4 weeks, I think start of April, the stock tested this, 400 level almost 2 times. Now, on the first attempt, the stock took a, support. It, went through a more of a time-based correction. But then, when the stock fell and, broke that 400 mark, the indicators, especially RSI made a higher low. Now that's a typical setup of a bullish divergence setup for Dabur, and I believe that also looking at the volume patterns, the way the stock behaves when it tries to go below that 400 mark, it indicates that there is a lot of demand or support at this 395 to 400 zone. So I think the stock holds on to this strong support level and doesn't break it. I believe there is a strong case you might see the stock rallying up higher. So Dabur could be a good contra bet at current levels for a target of almost 425 to 430.
Soumya, let's talk about Trent's earnings.
Well, as far as revenue is concerned, we saw a gain of over 26.5% compared to last year, while the PAT saw a surge of over 37%. Well, this was pretty much due to the rise in total income, which was up by over 25.6% during this quarter. In fact, talking about the results, Trent's chairman Noel and Tata said that led by a branded offer, Westside has continued to perform well and has seen the opening of 27 new stores, the maximum compared to any previous year. So the stock is actually gaining and the street is pretty optimistic of the results that Trent came out with.
All right, yeah, more than 2% higher for Trent. Brent prices are cooling off, but even when they were at elevated levels, some of these OMCs were still staying pretty resilient. Your view on IOC?
I have a slightly neutral view on this. The stock has been in a range-bound movement. We rubber the 55-day moving average. Oscillators are turning slightly positive. But if we are going to expect any appreciation, I think we need a close above 159. So I'd say hold with a stop loss of 153.69.
All right, so that's IOC higher by 1.6%. Another stock that's has a lot of positive news with respect to the company is MCX. Of course, do remember they came out with their fourth quarter numbers last week, after which there was buying seen because there was a nice 78% jump in the profits. Not just that, they got a SEBI nod as well with respect to its trading contracts, and additionally we had the news that came in on Friday. JP Morgan has bought about 2.7 lakh shares on the counter at date 26.5 rupees. So another set of good news coming in, at least a positive trigger for the stock, and it's higher by 0.7%. Kunal, what are you observing in PVR?
So the stock is at a fresh high at current levels. It's been one of the few stocks which has gone through a very steady upside. But you look at it in the 2018 saga, when the stock had been in the thick of that limelight, in terms of the news flow, you saw a V-shaped recovery post that, and post the V-shaped recovery, the stock has gone into a very steady and a gradual uptrend. I think all of that is a making of a stock which is on a very strong multi-year uptrend. I think even at current levels of 1750, 1765. I believe PVR could be bought into an immediate target of 1800 plus, but I think it depends on your time horizon. If it's longer, then the rewards could be far more higher from current levels.
All right, and Soumya, what's the news on E-Clerks?
Well, E-Clerks, the board has finally decided on the buyback details. The company is buying back 17.5 lakh of shares at the price of 1500 per share, and the entire buyback is valued at over 262 crore rupees. Well, that's what's keeping the stock buzzing today higher by over 1.4%.
Okay, and with that, we're out of time, so we'll wrap it up on this edition of Market Fatafat. Hemen, thank you for joining in and sharing your strategies with our viewers. Kunal and Soumya to you as well. Coming up next is Markets at Noon.